I think we can start now.
Yes, there we can start now.
Okay, so back to the beginning. So we are going to have this discussion based on the questions that you have sent me to the in the WhatsApp group. So before starting the Dhamma discussion, we are going to think about the meritorious deeds that we have done throughout this lifetime and throughout this sansaric journey. According to Mahamangala Sutta, it says about Pubbeta Kata Punyata. Pubbecha means before doing something. Kata Punyata means we are doing some meritorious act. So thinking about past meritorious acts is also becomes a meritorious act because it is a it becomes a punya anumodana. It becomes a anumodana because that person thinks about a meritorious act and become delighted and rejoice on that meritorious act which was done before, and that mindset which is created that at that point also becomes a meritorious power, or it becomes a meritorious act. So worshipping or paying respect to triple gems is also is also a meritorious act. So today, before starting this Dhamma discussion, we are going to think about the meritorious acts that we have done throughout this lifetime and throughout this sansaric journey, because it creates a very calm, peaceful mindset that is free of kama, chanda, vyapada, dinamita, uddacca, kukkucca, and vichikicha, which are the pancha nivarana that cover up the nibbana pathway, that cover up the understanding. So when those are gone, it is easier for us to understand Dhamma. And also, this moment, this Dhamma discussion is a result of past causes. So the causes that creates this moment are very meritorious indeed. So especially meritorious deeds that were done towards a Buddha Sasana. So thinking about that and wishing that all the meritorious power that was generated before in association with the Buddha Sasana may agglomerate together, creating the perfect background for us to understand the Supreme Dhamma is a very logical thing to do. So let us think, let us recall on all the meritorious deeds that we have done throughout this sansari journey. May all of those meritorious power agglomerate together, creating a perfect background for us to understand Supreme Dhamma, creating or opening up the eyes of wisdom and developing the rest of the pathway, being able to attain Nibbana. Accept this blessing with sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And also, not only the good things, but also the bad things come when the environment is correct. So this environment is for a Dhamma discussion. So the things that we have done against these kind of meritorious acts would come as a hindrance for us. So let us think about these unwholesome acts that we have done. Let us acknowledge our faults, and let us determine, let us promise ourselves that we are not going to do those wrong things again. With that determination in mind, let's accept it with the sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So there were a few questions that you have sent me through the WhatsApp chat. I'll go through the questions as always. I think if the Korean translation or these pictures that has been sent me could be shared with others, then it will be easier for them to understand what the question is about. So,
And I already shared the picture.
okay.
But
So then you already know the question. So I'll anyway read it. So this is about Satchavibhanga Sutta of Majjhima Nikaya. Katamo chauso Samma Samadhi. Idauso bhikkhu vivicceva kamehi viviccehi akusalehi dhammehi savitakkan savicharam vivekajam priti sukam patamajjanam upasampajja viherati. Vitakka vicharanam upasama ajjattan sampasadanam chetaso vitakka vicharanam upasama ajjattan sampasadanam. The second jhana is missing here. Anyway, chetaso ekodibhavang yeah. There it is. Sampasadanam chetaso ekodibhavam avitakkam avicharam samayidam priti sukam dutiyajjanam upasampajja viherati prityacha viraga upekkakocha viherati, and it goes on. And the third jhana and fourth jhana upasampajja viherati ayam uchyatauso samma samadhi. So this is one way of explaining samma samadhi. Yeah, the question is, if we look here, it is written as Samma Samadhi equals Jnana. How should we understand this? So the thing is, Samma Samadhi has 4 Arya Dhyanas according to this sutta. But this sutta was only one sutta explaining the Arya Ashtanga Magga. And in this sutta, the Samma Samadhi is explained as 4 Dhyanas. And if you go through the rest of the sutta, Jati was explained as burning, the birth. Jati was explained as the birth. Jara was explained as the jara of the deterioration of the body. Marana was explained as the death of this body, Soka, Parideva, Dukkha, Domana, Supayasa, and everything is aligning with our body according to that sutta. But if we think about it, it is not everything. Our body is not everything. There are other things. For example, there are external things like images, sounds, which are not living things, which does not have a mind or a body. But they also has a jati. And they also ends up in jara, marana. Soka, parideva, dukkha, domanasa can come because of those objects as well. But all of them are not explained in the sutta. In this sutta, an example has been taken, and according to that example, everything is put in place. So and this is the usual practice in Buddha Sasana. To explain some mechanism, we use an example. So in this sutta, the example is the most important one, which is the human body and mind, because it is the biggest problem for us. It is the most the potency of bonding, or the bond with the mind and the body, is higher than anything else in the world. So that is why that example has been taken to explain everything. But it does not say that is all about jati. We know in Jati Dhamma Sutta and other suttas, it says everything is jati. Gold is jati. This chair is jati. This mobile or the tablet PC is jati. Our house is a jati. Our loved ones, mother, father, children, everything, they are all jati. And they also ends up in jara and marana, and they also becomes a reason for soka, parideva, dukkha, domana, supayas. But everything is not explained. Only one example is explained in the sutta. So just like that, not all the Samma Samadhi is explained here. In the Arya Ashtanga Magga is explained in a pattern, in a This is one way of explaining the Aryattangika Magga. So in that methodology, Samma Samadhi is interpreted as Prathama Jhana, Dutiya Jhana, Tritiya Jhana, Tatya Jhana. But not all people can obtain or can develop jhana states. If you have gone through the literature, you might know about the Suska Vidarshaka Arihats. So these Suska Vidarshaka Arihats, they are Prajna Vimukta Arihats. And in this Prajna Vimukta category, there's a very significant amount of individuals who are not able to develop even one single jhana but has reached Arihat state. So without completing Aryattangika Magga, nobody can attain Arihat state. So then these Suska Vidarshakas have somehow completed the Aryattangika Magga, which consists of Samma Samadhi. So they have completed the Samma Samadhi, but they don't have any jhana. So this becomes contradictory. So the thing is, yes, of course, the four dhyanas are included in Samma Samadhi. But the thing is, this is a Samma Samadhi. What we have to understand is the Nirukti. So in the Nirukti, Sang means the Raga, Dosa, Moha. Ma means the non-entertainment or getting rid of these Raga, Desa, Moha. Samma. Samadhi means, Samma means the, we can say the continuation of a state is Samadhi. Continuation of that certain mental state is Samadhi. So certain mental state is continued for a period, and in that mental state there's no raga, no dosa, and no moha. That's Samma Samadhi, which should in fact lead to Samma Jnana and Samma Vimukti. That would end up in Dasa Hangehi Samannagato Arahati Uchatiti. That's the end of this pathway, which is Arihathood. So in that also there is Samma Samadhi. And this Samma Samadhi might not have dhyana. But in some instances, in some Prajna Vimuktas, they also develop dhyana. In especially the Cheto Vimukta, they would develop dhyana, and that is definite. They need to develop dhyana. If it is a Cheto Vimukta becoming Arihat, at the end they will become Prajna Vimukta, and the combination we call them Ubato Vimukta. So that is the thing here. If somebody is having dhyanas, if somebody can develop dhyana, that would be a very blissful path. That would become a very blissful pathway. Why? Shushka means it's hard. Shushka, if we think about the word Shushka Vidarshaka, it might be a Sinhala word, I don't know, because most of the words are there in both languages, Pali and Sinhala, so I don't know which is in which. So Shushka means it is hard, or it is not easy to do the vipassana, to develop that mindset. So we have heard about this dukkha patipada. So that is the state, Shushka. Dukkha patipada has to be, the patipada or the pathway needs to be practiced in a bit of a suffering environment mentally. But they also can develop or can attain Nibbana, and that is called Prajna Vimukta, Shushka Vidarshaka. So the other individuals who can develop the jhana, first jhana is blissful, mentally and physically. And the second one is higher than that. Third one, fourth one becomes more and more blissful. So it becomes a sukha patipada for those individuals. It becomes easy. We cannot compare saying that the others are below and the shushka, and the ones with the jhana are higher above. There's nothing like that. Some shushka vidarshakas can attain arihathood easier, and some cheto vimukta individuals are not able to develop their dhyanas easily, so they are struggling. So this is not a comparison. The thing is, both pathways can be used, and depending on the indriya anatta, depending on the power of these indriya bala and indriya and bala. So indriya bala means the power of indriya. So if the power of indriya are higher in one individual, that person would be able to attain nibbana easier. So if the power is less, then it would take time, and the individual might be struggling, might have to struggle a little bit, and it becomes a dukkha patipada. So for Cheta Vimukta also, there's some individuals, until the Samadhi is developed, it becomes a dukkha patipada. After the Samadhi is developed, then it becomes a sukha patipada. So in this sutta, yes, Samma Samadhi has been explained, and this is only one sutta. It does not cover everything, but covers the necessary facts with examples, so that the individuals who are listening could attain Nibbana, could open up the eyes of wisdom. So that is what this is about. So I hope that's clear. And I am not sure about the second question, because I am not sure about the word there. I think it could be this word manyana, manyamano. I'm not sure, but because in English, it sounds differently for different individuals. So it could be another word, but I'm thinking of something else. So if the context of this word, or where this word has been used, if that could be obtained and presented, then I could go in and search for the Sinhala word which gives the correct sound. Then I can understand what it is, what the meaning is about, after referring to some texts. Uddacca is not Ucca. Now, Ucca means, now there's three: Uccamana, Seyamana, and Sadisamana. Uccamana, Heenamana, and the Seyamana means the Uccamana. So the thing is, Uccamana, Sadisamana, and Heenamana. Heenamana is, now in Mana, what do? We compare two things. Now, Mana is measuring and comparing. So we get two, let's say, we take two cups. One cup is bigger and one cup is smaller. And we compare this cup. Let's say our cup is the bigger cup, and the other person's cup is smaller than ours. So we compare it with our cup, which is bigger, and we say this cup is smaller. So we have measured the two cups, and we are comparing it right now. And in the comparison, we say one is bigger and one is smaller. So this is the concept of man. So what the problem is The problem is about when this is done with raga, dosa, moha, or avijja. So this becomes, let's say, there are two individuals. One is average height. One is above average height. That means, let's say one is 6 feet tall. One is 5 feet 7 inches, and one is 5 feet tall. So that when the three individuals are met together, the individual who is 6 feet tall is comparing the others to his height and deciding that he is above the others. That is Uchamana. And this Uchamana was developed based on height. And the middle person compares the other two, and one is below, the one is only 5 feet tall, and the other one is 6 feet tall. So in the middle, 5 feet 7 inches tall person thinks, I am middle. I am the norm. I am less than this person who is 6 feet tall, and I am above the person who is 5 feet tall. So he compares the height, the other people's height with his height. And in one instance, he is developing Uchamana, and in the other instance, he is developing Heenamana. So the person who is 5 feet tall compares his height with the other person, other two people, and decides that he is inferior. That is Heenamana. So this comparison is because there's this idea that there's a Nitya Sukha Atta Subha individual who belongs everything, who is the owner of everything. Now this is the basic understanding of Buddhism. So when this is not there, even if that is there, until the Asmi Mana is gone, until the last Mana, Uddacca, Avijja, last three defilements or these three entities are gone, that person would have that idea or that pattern of thinking would be there in the person. So that person would be comparing, and the comparison becomes something of avijja because of value. So when somebody values things, that person is comparing to the valuable thing. For example, if we value gold, then we would be comparing other elements or other metals like silver, platinum, or let's say other external items like images, sounds. Then that person would be comparing it with gold. And this is this much valuable. This is that much valuable. That is why we use, instead of gold, now we use money. So using money, we decide each person's wealth. So one person is a millionaire. One person is a poor person. A poor person is in Heenaman. The person who is a millionaire is in Uchaman. And when a person with Uchamana or a millionaire meets another millionaire, that person compares with the other person and sees that both are equal, both are millionaires. And now at that point develops Sayyamana. The problem with Mana, now there's no problem in seeing that. If there's a millionaire and another millionaire comes and talks with that person, there's no problem in identifying both are millionaires and both are equal. The problem is when there's raga, dosa, moha, or when there's that nitya, sukha, atta, subha mindset, then that becomes a reason for dukkha, suffering. Because when there's hinamana, now let's say the person that the person who is poor does not have any avijja. That means, let's say the person is a arihat. It's a noble arihat individual who is a very poor person. Now that person might register that idea that this is a millionaire and I am a poor person. That comparison can be done. But the problem is when money becomes a valuable thing, that becomes a reason for suffering, because now the valuable thing is not with you, with that poor person. That valuable thing is belonging to the other person who is a millionaire. So when in the comparison, it becomes a suffering experience, because there is no because there's this delusional value given to the wealth. If the value is zero, then the comparison can be done. Yes, I am a poor person. This is a millionaire. So what? What is the problem? There's nothing valuable in this world. Eyes are not valuable. Images are not valuable. Ears are not valuable. Sounds are not valuable. All the 12 things, internal 6 and external 6, are not valuable to latch on to. So that person also would be comparing this ball, this cup is bigger than that cup, this table is bigger than that table. That comparison is possible. But the thing is, since there's no value given, suffering would not occur with that comparison. Comparison would be done for daily activities, the daily need, because without measuring, you would not be able to live. We would not be able to function. The basic function of this human being needs that measuring part and comparison part where we compare. Problem is not the comparison, but when the value is applied to the things that we compare. I hope that's clear, and that is the most important thing that we need to understand about mana. So ucca mana, there's a question asked here, ucca, uddacca, whether uddacca equals ucca. Now ucca means superiority complex. That is the word here. And hinamana means the inferiority complex. But the English terms are just based on this ego thing. But it is the ego that comes with value. So we have to go to the depth and we have to know how it is formed. In English, in these English terms, it's just the surface understanding. We have to go in depth and understand how this is formed. It is not just about the person per se, but the things that belongs to the person. So me, mine, and myself, everything works for the ego. So my things, my car, my house, they also creates the superiority complex. We have to know how. It is not a superiority complex to say that Supreme Buddha is higher than Arihats. So Supreme Buddha mentions this. He mentions that there's nobody in this whole world that is equal to me. Now that someone could say that now that is superiority complex. Now that is ego, or that is mana, that is uchamana. No, that is not uchamana, that is the truth. Because he does not value this world, even he said this Dhamma is not only, it can be, should be used up until the Arihat state. There's no point in taking Dhamma or attaching to Dhamma, or that's why it says Sabbe Dhamma Anattati, Sabbe Sankara Dukkhati, Sabbe Sankara Anicchati. So everything, including Supreme Buddhas, he says that is value when compared with Nibbana, it's valueless. But when we are in this world, that is the most valuable thing that we can think of. But when comparing with Nibbana, he says there's nothing good in this world. Even if there's small, minute, tiny thing that is valuable in this world, I would not be telling about this Nibbana. So that includes the Buddha state as well. So he says it is also not valuable in a way. But when we compare it with the world, that is the most valuable thing one can achieve, because that is the way to exit this worldly suffering cycle, which is samsara. So the Supreme Buddha does not have that man, that uchaman. He is telling the truth. Just like for us, let's say there's no value for, let's say a person comes and brings us, he brings 2 cups in front of us, and one is bigger and one is smaller, and he asks which is smaller and which is bigger, and we see the 2 cups and we can clearly see one is bigger, and we say this cup is bigger and this cup is smaller. So saying that does not create anything suffering. That's just a fact. Just like that, Supreme Buddhas are higher than even Arihats. Supreme Buddha is the highest thing, is highest quality, also a highest being that could born in this world. So that is why and that is a fact. So if the value is gone, that fact does not create suffering. That is what we need to understand. And this Uddacca is the conflict that comes. So we have understood this mana, Uddacca, and avijja. So mana is the reason, or mana is the moola, or the root of raga. Uddacca is the root of dosa. Avijja is the root of moha. So here, Uddacca is the root of dosa. So dosa is the rage, anger, conflict, these things. So it starts with Uddacca. And all now here, Manutacha Vidya, they are connected. They cannot be separated. If one is gone, the other 2 also goes. If one is there, the other 2 are also there. So avijja is about value. Value is connected to mana. That is why we said if the value is gone, just the comparison does not become a problem. So that we don't call that mana. So mana and avijja, they are connected. And the third thing is Uddacca. Uddacca is when there's measuring, when there's value, and when that valuable thing does not belong to you, that is a conflict. That starts a conflict that could later progress into anger, rage, disappointment, and that starts with mana, avijja, mana, and the Uddacca. So Uddacca is that, and not Ucca. Ucca means higher. The meaning of Ucca means higher. Sayya. Sayya is also a word that can be used here. So the fourth question is, I wonder how I can check my conceit. I think that's about the ego. I wonder how I can get rid of my conceit. So the thing is, that is removed fully, the asmi mana, in the end. When somebody attains the supreme bliss, or when somebody attains the Arihat state, that person would be able to eliminate this mana, Uddacca, and avijja. Until that point, that person would have mana. that person would have mana to some extent, but the mana is a spectrum, as we have discussed before. So mana in a makkuto, atimana in a kukkuto, that level of mana, that level of ego would go or would be eliminated when somebody understands this Dhamma. Because it says when one achieves Sotapanna state, that person is free from the four hells, which includes the animal world. So Makkuto means the monkey, Kukkuto means the dog. So there's no way that person becomes a dog or a monkey. So the mana and Makkuto means the normal level of mana. No, normal means the normal unwholesome level of mana, or unwholesome level of mana would make one a donkey, a monkey, and extreme unwholesome level of mana would make one a dog. So these are gone when somebody has attained Sotapanna state. From Sotapanna to Sakadagami, another layer of mana is dissolved or removed. Another level of mana is removed in the Anagami state. And the final Asmi mana, the finest level of mana also will be removed, and that final layer would be dissolved in the last Arihat state. And for that, we need to understand what now the question is about. I wonder how I can check my conceit. Now we know, until we have this idea, there are valuable things, especially there's this sense of importance to self. So we think that it is not suitable to take it as me, is the understanding that one should have. It is not suitable to take it as mind, and it is not suitable to take this as my soul. Should be the correct understanding. But even though there's the understanding, until the Arihat state is achieved, that person would feel that it is good to take it as me. It is good to take it as mine or my soul. So, but when he contemplates on it, he understands that it is wrong. The ideology is wrong. This way of thinking is wrong. That would be understood. But due to sanya vipallasa, chitta vipallasa, still that person is not able to act on what he understands. So that is why we need the Aryattanga Magga to practice. And at the end, so we can, after understanding and completing the Aryattanga Magga, we would be able to get rid of those problems or defilements that we have. So that in this process, where one tries to understand mana, so mana level of mana is when the person thinks that the external things are mine, and there's this valuable thing called me, and tries to hang on to these things. Because when the value is given to me and mine, when something above that, or the superior to that, something superior to that comes, that automatically creates suffering. And that is due to ego. That is due to mana. Say, I am the best speaker here. Let's say somebody thinks like that. I am the best speaker here. And I would never lose a debate with anybody. And that is his mana, ego. And another person from the far end or the other end of the world, who is very, very talented in talking or logic or debating, comes and destroys this person. And in that in that moment, what is destroyed is that this first person's ego. He thought he is the highest. But somebody superior to him came and showed that he is not the highest. So that is a reason for suffering. And the other aspect also is there. When he meets somebody inferior to him, he defeats that person with pride, with his talent, and it develops his ego, and it becomes a blissful experience for that person. So when the other person is defeated, he experiences a happy feeling. He's happy. He feels victorious, and his ego is developed in the process. But this person does not know that this ego is a reason for suffering. He's creating a reason for suffering. It is just a matter of time until he meets that person who is superior to him, and all of that joy, all of that blissfulness would just vanish, and that person would be in agony. So that was created only because he was developing this ego throughout time, and this ego, the base of that, if we go to the basis, or if we go to the root of that, there's value, and which is due to avijja. If the avijja is gone, that person would know as a fact that he can talk, he can do, he can win in debates, he's able to use logic, he's able to talk fluently. He would know it as a fact, but that person would not give value to that. So he's when the other person is when the two people start a conversation, that person would not use that as a weapon, but rather he would be using that as a tool to explain the other person the correct thing. So there's no sense of winning or losing in the process, because there's no ego involved in the process. So that is an example that we can use to understand what ego is about. Ego, this according to this question. I hope that is clear. If not, please explain what the problem is, so we can discuss. And the most important question is the last one. So I'll read the last one. If there is a mistake among the numbers here, please point it out. And if it is correct, please answer yes. The essenceless, and which this is about the essenceless nature, or the anatta nature, I think. Essence is, I know these words: permanent, unshakable, not vexing, everlasting, unchanging soul, but I will omit these words. And so the words that are used here are, first one, is it possible to understand essenceless as there is no fixed entity, like a ball of fire? Is it possible to understand essenceless as there is no substance that exists, like like a ball of fire? Third one, nicho duo aviparinama dhammo. Sassato is also there. Sassato should be there. Nicho duo sassato aviparinama dhammo. The fourth one is one big unit, and in brackets it says, as a person who can do and control anything as one wants. There is nothing to grasp. We can't grasp. The sixth one, what we know, what we perceive as anatta is a nominal remnant. Seventh one, anatta is not worthless, but worthless is a conclusion of anatta. The conclusion as a characteristic of anatta that we must ponder in order to achieve Nibbana. So here, essenceless, anatta. In instances, it says aniccang, dukkang, viparinama dhamma. And some instances it says anicca, dukkha, anatta, and asubha. So here the third one, in one instance it's viparinama dhamma, and the other instance it says anatta. So anatta is also a very broad term, has different meanings, but all are interconnected. So anatta, in a way, has this idea. Now the word essenceless, the English word, is not the ideal word to explain anatta. And we have this word asara. Asara means, again, when we put it into English, we have to use different words to explain what asara means. Something like pointless, something like there's no worth, like mentioned here, worthless, something like there's no point in grasping onto these kinds of things because it ends up in viparinam. So the only thing that we can do is we can use an example to give you that feeling of anatta. So to do that, I'll say something like this. There's this Sinhala verse that is used, which says Gangata inikapano. So I'll explain that. So if a person wants some logs in the sense he wants timber, so that person, what that person does is he goes near the river with his axe. Let's say that person wants firewood or timber or whatever the wood that is used for some purpose, that could be used for some purpose. So he climbs the tree which is inclined towards the river, and he cuts wood and drops it into the river. So if the person drops all the wood into the river, this wood would be going down the river. That person would never be able to get even single wood or the piece of wood for his use, because all the wood just went down the river, and the act of cutting these logs, cutting this timber, was just useless. So now we are going to compare it with anatta. So we are that individual. We are the individual who are cutting logs, and we want these logs for our use. We have this necessity of wood, but we are dropping it into the river. So we would not be able to use any because there is nothing at the end. So that is the nature of anatta. So we have created these eyes. We have somehow created the image, the beautiful, wonderful, blissful image. We have created this ear and the sound. And we have created the nose and the smell from in the outside. Created in the sense we have at least bought it. We draw the painting. We use colors to draw it. And we used various instruments to create this sound. We mixed various things to create this smell. we created this, or we prepared this meal using different ingredients. And likewise, we created the internal organs as well as the external ones. What is the purpose of it? Bliss. We experience blissfulness. Now we prepared this meal so that we can have a delicious meal. So deliciousness, tasty, or the blissfulness was our aim. So we thought that we could hold on to our expectation. But the thing is, just like when we were cutting logs, we thought I can get all of these logs to myself. I am tiring myself, and I have found a very nice tree which has lot of timber, and I am cutting all of that timber so I can complete my wish, my expectation, or my necessity for timber. The thing is, he was happy at that point while cutting the logs, but at the end there was nothing left for him to bring home. Just like that, when the image was creating, when the image was being created, when the eyes are being created, that person gets this false hope that he can experience blissfulness. But the thing is, each and every now the blissfulness comes with Vedana. We know that Sukha Vedana, or the blissful Vedana, is what creates this, or is what is expected. Blissful Vedana is what is expected here. But the thing is, it is the reason for blissful Vedana is Phassa, or touch. For a fraction of touch, there's a fraction of Vedana. When the fraction of touch, when the time period is exceeded, that fraction of touch ends up in it get destroyed. It is deleted. And the fraction of Vedana also could not last, and that also gets deleted. And we explained how that happens. If we stroke somebody's arm, just like this, so the first touch, but the first fraction of touch created the first fraction of Vedana. And when the hand is moved here, this is the second fraction of touch, creating the second fraction of Vedana. And this is the third fraction of touch, creating the third fraction of Vedana. But we are experiencing a continuous stroke. But the thing is, it was consisting of fractions of touch. And that first fraction could not be seen when the second fraction is experienced. Second fraction of Vedana could not be experienced when the third fraction of Vedana is experienced. So with time, this fraction is deteriorated and ends up in destruction. Oh, that is what we call Jara Marana. So even it cannot last for even 1 second. Just like when we cut logs and put it into the river, it just went down the road, it went down the river. We could not latch on to it, we could not hold on to it. It's just like trying to catch air. So when we're trying to catch the atmospheric air, it just sweeps out between our fingers. There's this false hope that we can touch it, but the thing is, we cannot. It just seeps out between our fingers. So just like that, that touch, that fraction of touch could not, or the fraction of Vedana it did not last. So the thing is that the person's false hope for this blissful Vedana is still there. So that person works more harder to achieve, somehow get that blissfulness. So that person uses his eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind in various ways throughout this lifetime for 50, 60, 70, 80 years, trying to somehow latch on to this blissful Vedana. So this is one way of explaining Anatta. So the thing is that since it is like cutting logs into a river, there's nothing left at the end. The I which was created at the beginning to experience blissful images, that also was deleted, ended up in destruction, ended up in Jara Marana. The image which was created also ended up in Jara Marana. And that happens right now in this moment as well. That is the fine detail. That is a fine understanding. But if we go for the bigger picture, the I which we created in the life before this, where is that I? We cannot find that I. Even the images that was there in that previous life, nothing is left. That is the bigger picture. And this I, this set of eyes also will end up in that fate. These images would also end up in that fate. That is the bigger picture. But we can go for the finer picture, where we use this flame as an example. So flame was created because of reasons, because of oil, because of oxygen, because of the correct temperature. There's this exothermic reaction happening at the end of this wick, creating a flame. But since the substances that should be there to open up or create this flame is used in the process of creation of the flame, or the first oil molecule, first oxygen molecule has to react to create a flame. So in the reaction process, they are deteriorated. They are no longer there. Oxygen becomes carbon dioxide, oil molecule becomes again carbon dioxide, water, and other carbon monoxide or things. And because of that, since the causes are not there, the effect cannot last. So the effect, which is the flame, also cannot be there. So the first flame, which was a result of first oil molecule and first oxygen molecule, could not last, and that dies as well. So the second oxygen molecules and second oil molecule are reacted, creating the second flame, and that is also deteriorated in the same way. So the third one comes. Now this has to be seen with wisdom, not with the naked eye, because in the naked eye we see a constant flame. So there's no constant continuity, but there's this process, ongoing process, a very fast process happening, which we should see with our wisdom. And that explains us there is, even in a split second, there are millions and billions of flames that are formed. But since they are all equal in color, in shape, and superimposed on one another, one after the other, we see a constant flame. So in that way, all the world, we can compare it with the flame. So for right now, our life is also like that. It is the flame of life. So I am talking right now. So when I open my mouth, that is one flame. But if that flame did not, if that flame is everlasting, now we use the word everlasting here. If that flame is everlasting, or if my image with opened mouth is everlasting, I would not be able to close my mouth, because how can I close my mouth? Because open mouth, I would be freezed with the open mouth. But that is not the case. That open mouth, the result, which is a body with an open mouth, just like the flame. Since the causes are being deteriorated, the result also will get deteriorated. And that is the reason why there's another copy of me with a closed mouth can be created at the same spot. So we think that it's the same person because we look alike, the two images look alike, and it is superimposed on one another. But the time goes, and with time, these frames of images with the same or with the similarity it gets superimposed on one another, and we think that it's the one single person, and that is what we called one big unit, one single unit. But there's no one single unit, but there's a process. This process of creation creates this illusion of one single unit, but there's no one single unit, but instead there's a process happening. That is why we are able to talk. So we are in this process of talking, I have to open my mouth, I have to close my mouth, and there are a lot of other things that are happening. So just like a film roll, so we know in a film what is happening is those are still images moved in a high frequency. So then when the image frames of images that are different slightly from one another, and when we have a series of such images superimposed on one another, we see a nice film where the people talk, where the people move and do things and shout and jump, and all the things could be done. Just like that, we also use the same phenomenon. The world has the same phenomenon, and world, everything, including image, not only the living things like us, but also the houses, vehicles, the non-living things also has the same way of occurrence, or the one singularity, or the one single unit which we see in this worldly thing. The quality of one single unit is actually an illusion of this process, is what we have to understand. So then when that is the case, now we go back to the original example we took, just like cutting logs into the river. So river is the river of time, but we are thinking that we are able to experience the blissfulness is the expectation for the expectation for the logs or timber. But we are cutting the timber. There's no other way anyway. We have to cut timber to the ocean or to the river. There's no other way to cut timber. So we are cutting timber to the river of time, and that is moved down the river in no time. So we are not able to experience it. And that creates a suffering state. And in that suffering state is called dukkha dukkha. And in that dukkha dukkha, we do sankhara dukkha, or we are acting more and more to somehow hold on to that blissful sensation, but they wear away in the process, or in the natural way, and that would create the suffering or the disappointment, which is a result of deterioration or viparinama. That viparinama dukkha is anatta. One way of explaining anatta is viparinama dukkha. One way of explaining anatta is worthlessness. One way of explaining anatta is pointlessness. One way of explaining anatta is, again, essence is something like something meaningful. There's no meaning in this process, is what we need to understand. Now, the conclusion of that is there's no, now conclusion of all of that, anatta, all of this explanation is we should not attach things that are of, if the things are of this nature. If all the things are of this nature, of anatta nature, there's no point in attaching to those things, is the conclusion of anatta. So when that conclusion is taken, then that person would be able to see Nibbana is the only option. Nibbana is the sole option. Nibbana is the meaningful, worthful, or the option which is full of essence. All the opposite qualities of this world would be seen in Nibbana, and Nibbana is valuable, and that person would do his best to attain Nibbana. So that is the explanation that I can give for the question. These words, essenceless, might not, but we repeatedly use the word essenceless because we have to use something to explain anatta. But the thing is, that word does not do the correct, or it does not correctly explain this the idea of anatta. That's why we have to use a whole big sermon. We have to do a whole explanation using examples and using other things to explain anatta. So this feeling of anatta would be registered in your mind. So in the next time we discuss this, you can use the word anatta, but you can understand everything which was explained. So that is what this is about. So nicho, duo, sassato, aiparinama dhammo. So all of this is because nature is because if the person thinks, again back to the original example which we took, cutting logs into a river. If the person thinks he can have things according to the expectation, and this thing happens to be or obtaining a pile of wood or logs or timber for him to bring home. That is the expectation. So that if the person thinks that everything is according to the expectation, and here Nietzsche means thinking that this is permanent, this is everlasting, unchanging, so I can experience that for eternity. So I can explain this forever. And that is the expectation. That is nicho. Now this is very well explained by in a sutta where the Supreme Buddha goes to the Brahma world, and Brahma comes and says that this world is nicho, duo, sassato, aipariнаmadam. So the Brahma thinks that the Brahma world is everlasting. It is not destroyed in any way. It is permanent. So the Brahma thinks like that. So that in that only he explains nicho, duo, sassato, aipariнаmadam. Here nicho means he thinks that he can have those logs for himself. So he thinks what the body he created is everlasting, and so for a Brahma, they have 2 eyes and 2 ears and a body. They do not have functioning nose or a tongue, or a bodily touch could not be taken. They have a body made of light or energy. So they have an energy body. So these are the 3 entities: eyes, ears, and the body they have, or the mind, we can say. These are the 3: mind, body, mind, eyes, ears, and body. Mind is there. So these are the 3 things that they have. So they want to experience images because they have eyes. They have this deficiency for images. That's why they have eyes. They have created eyes because they think images are valuable. That's why they have created a pair of eyes so they can watch images and become blissful. So they have created a pair of ears. So because in the when the sankharas were done to become a Brahma, the idea was sounds are good, sounds are valuable. So they have a pair of ears that can listen to sound, and they have created a mind because they are thinking. They think the thinking is good, thinking is valuable. It is full of essence. Is the idea of a Brahma. So the Brahma thinks the images that are created and the eyes that are created for Brahma are everlasting. And because of that Brahma thinks it's nature. He can have this according to his expectation. So that is what this nature means here. The meaning of nature here means that the sound and the ear was created, and the Brahma thinks that ear which was created for him, and the sounds which are being created, they are everlasting, and the experiences can be taken without disruption, and that is what Nietzsche means. Can have it according to expectation. If he wants to have it for 100 million years, then yes, he can. He thinks like that. That is what Nietzsche means. Duo means permanent. Sassato means that he thinks that his soul is permanent. He has a soul, and his soul cannot be deleted. Soul does not get destroyed or deteriorated. It is permanent. And aviparinama dhammo means the opposite of viparinama. And that is what the idea of this Brahman. Nicho, duo, sassato, aviparinama dhammo. So everything explains the opposite of anatta. So that is why they say this is atta. The Brahma word is atta, and that is a wrong view. So the reality is everything is aniccho, anichang, adduang, and asasato and avipariнаmadam. So this is the understanding that we have to have to understand anatta. I hope that is clear. I think I covered up all the things that I explained here. If not, please tell me, tell or put something into the chat so we can discuss the rest. And those are the questions that I have got. So if you don't have any other questions, then since our set of questions were already answered, we can end today's discussion. Mr. Tushan, what should we I think we can end the session,
Yes.
isn't it?
I think we have continued. We started 6 o'clock today due to some difficulties, but I think we have answered and thanks to everyone's questions. We have listened to great sermons today, and due to metta towards from Sangha, Mahasangha, also we have received blessings to listen to such sermons today. I think we can conclude the sessions today if there's no more questions. Thero.
Okay, so today we have discussed very important things which are essential for our understanding and to end the suffering samsaric journey. So While contemplating on these things, you have done Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, and Manu Sankara. And these Sankara, of course, are meritorious, of meritorious nature. So through these meritorious acts, we have generated immeasurable amounts of power, meritorious power, and the meritorious power which have been generated may create a perfect background for everyone to understand Supreme Dhamma, opening up the eyes of wisdom and creating the background for everyone, the external background as well as the mental internal background. And in the end, may everyone be able to open up the eyes of wisdom, end the suffering samsara by practicing the Arya-tangika Magga, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Accept this blessing with a sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And we are going to transfer these merits to all the sentient beings, especially the ones who have helped us throughout this samsaric journey, especially in this life, the diseased relations of us, the ones who helped us in various ways, the ones who helped us to have this Dhamma discussion, ones who are paying or continuing to maintain these monasteries and take or electronic devices, internet connections, and the ones who are behind the scene, and ones who are facilitating these Dhamma discussions, and the ones who have helped us throughout this samsaric journey, our parents, relations, colleagues, and the people who have constructed our houses, roads. Only because of them we are able to survive in this world without a problem. So the ones who have been hurted and harmed by us, by our actions throughout this suffering samsara, since we did not know what is right and what is wrong, we have been trying to protect things, thinking that they are valuable without knowing their reality, using the 10 unwholesome acts. Let us remind all the ones who were hurted and harmed by us, by our actions as well, and all the deities and all the Brahma gods in all the 31 planes and in all the universe. Let us spread this immeasurable meritorious power to all of them, wherever they are in this universe. If they are in miserable places, may they refrain from doing sins. May they replace those sinful sins with sinful acts with meritorious deeds, and may they lead happy lives, ultimately understanding the reality of the world, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Until that, all their lives may become full of life, comfort, power, refreshness, and wisdom, ultimately ending up the suffering samsaric journey in Nibbana. Accept this by transferring this meritorious power to them with metta and kindness with sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So we'll end this session for today with this Pali Gatha, where Mahasangha would be blessing you with life, comfort, power, refreshness, and in the end, Nibbana. Abhyadana Siddhis Nichang Vada Pachayano Chattaro Dhamma Vadanti Ayuvanno Sukambalang Ayurarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Minate Samichatu. May everyone attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Siravanta Guruvantam Punyaketang Anuttaram Dullaveda Ladda Vandam Sandhura Sarvuttar Keranangagatam Patipatya Saddha Siddhaya Vasa Buddha Puttang Namamaha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, Theruvan Saranai everyone.
Theruvan Saranai everyone.
Theruvan Saranai.